It's 8 a.m. and the clinic waiting room is already packed in Burj Al Barajna camp in West Beirut. Rola has 3 children under 12. She's here to get medicine for her 2-year-old son's flu. The clinic and drugs are provided for free by UNRWA, the UN organisation that funds aid for Palestinian refugees like Rola. But recently, she's seen the services start to deteriorate.
Life is difficult here. Now it's gotten more difficult. UNRWA used to be better before. Its services have gone down a lot.
It's not just healthcare. Food aid has reduced, and other services are being restricted. UNRWA simply doesn't have the money to keep funding them.
We're not living like human beings. There are no human rights. My children are little now. I don't know what tomorrow holds for them.
Palestinian refugees here don't have citizens' rights. They can't use normal state services and face restrictions on working and owning property. Many refugees around the world are similarly constrained, but the difference is that this situation isn't temporary. Many of these families have been here for 70 years. There are more than 450,000 Palestinian refugees living in Lebanon, many of them 4th or 5th generation stateless people. Most of them live in camps like these, which were never meant for long-term use. They've been patched up for decades and are crumbling where they stand. The clinic is the only one in Burj Al Barajna camp. It has 2 doctors serving 23,000 people. They each see up to 75 patients a day. Wafa is here to collect medicines for herself and her family. But they're no longer able to supply everything she needs, and she's afraid it's going to get worse.
We are dying at the doors of the hospitals because UNRWA can only cover a small portion of our health care, because no one is supporting it. When America stops funding, they are killing a population of refugees. They say this new president is good. I don't know him. Biden? Let's see.
The US used to provide 1/3 of UNRWA's budget, its biggest donor by far. Then suddenly in 2018, the Trump administration slashed the funding. Meanwhile, the US controversially moved its embassy to the disputed city of Jerusalem and endorsed the building of more Israeli settlements in the West Bank, eroding the hopes of Palestinian refugees that a peace deal might one day allow them the right to return to the lands where their ancestors lived. Having been the biggest foreign player in the Middle East peace process for decades, the US taking these steps prompted anger and despair among Palestinian refugees across the region.
Palestinian refugees here in Lebanon and elsewhere feel very much that they have been abandoned, and to some extent it's true.
In 2018, when the Trump administration cut UNRWA's funding, they called the organisation irredeemably flawed. They said that money was being wasted. They said that Palestinian refugees had become too dependent on UNRWA. How did you react to that?
The accusation is unfair, and we know it was politically motivated. The reality is that refugees are going to exist whether UNRWA disappears or not. UNRWA is not a solution. UNRWA is a band-aid. It's a temporary solution. It's been temporary for 70 years, which is not an indictment on UNRWA. It's an indictment on the inability of the parties to the conflict and the international community to achieve the solution that will resolve these issues. It is very important that the US comes back into the fold.
Now, the refugees and those who support them hope the incoming administration will reinvest in pursuing a political settlement and reinstate the aid flow. These hopes aren't just speculative. Speaking to a newspaper just before the election, Kamala Harris said, "We will oppose annexation and settlement expansion, and we will take immediate steps to restore economic and humanitarian assistance to the Palestinian people." In the meantime, UNRWA is heading for collapse. They've already had to delay November salaries for the agency's 28,000 staff, most of whom are Palestinians, and don't know if they'll be able to pay at all this month.
We've reached the bone. We can no longer cut. And this is a huge blow because, and as we've seen here in Lebanon, Palestinian refugees are a very marginalized community, and so there isn't any other alternative.
It's the employment UNRWA provides that's just as essential as its schooling and health services. Palestinian refugees here are banned from most white-collar jobs that could earn them a good salary. UNRWA is one of the only employers that will hire them for professional work. A week ago, these protesting teachers were told the special needs classes they run will be cut at the end of the month. Nearly 250 teachers face losing their jobs. Azhar is one of them. She teaches at Tubas School in Nahr al-Bared, a sprawling camp in northernmost Lebanon near the Syrian border. She's depended on this job for a decade, and now she'll be out of work, with no other options to support her young family.
My husband is unemployed and we have no other source of income. I'm not sleeping, just thinking about what will happen after 2020.
With so few jobs that Palestinians can do here, life is already a daily struggle. These 11-year-old boys are paid a couple of dollars a day to collect and sort garbage. They take the money home to help their families. Hussein is learning how to be a plumber on this course funded by American charity Anera. He'll earn about $150 a month while training, practicing on homes in the camp. It's a skill that offers a chance of regular work, and that's all he can hope for, he says.
There's a lot of young men in the camps who are in a bad situation. There weren't many opportunities. There isn't much work. Ever since my youth, I've been crushed. I don't dream because it's just dreaming. It can't become reality.
But when 10-year-old Mais walks to school every day, she isn't thinking about what she can't do, but what she can. Like so many others, she believes that one day she and her family will go back to Palestine, a place she knows only in stories. I'm not Lebanese, she tells me. I'm Palestinian. I ask her what that means to her. Palestine, that's our country. I don't know where it is. I wasn't born there. We left it, she says. She wants to be a teacher and can't imagine her life without access to school.
If there was no school, I'd be very sad. How can I become a teacher without the school and the teachers that are teaching me?
Wafa is holding out hope that the US will change its mind.
I hope that America will reconsider its position on this to help UNRWA, because UNRWA is the hope of the refugees. It's all we have. Honestly, it's our only shelter.
Like so many living in limbo here, hope is all she has left.